All right. Welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast. This is episode 181. I am your host, Supreme King. Join with me, as always, is my co-host, and his name is...
It's your guy Omazis.
All right. How you doing? What just went off in my ear? I don't know. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And I can still hear you. I don't know. I can't, like, it gave me one of those like it sounded like something just went away. I don't know what happened. Maybe
Discord wanted you to know that it can hear you as well.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was Discord. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to discuss technically. A lot has unfolded in 1 week. I know I've been making some promises about this PlayStation VR 2 thing, or at least my impressions of it. I actually want to push that back a week because of some of the more important topics. That thing is not really relevant. I mean, we'll talk about that next week, but I think the state of the gaming industry is a lot more relevant right now of a conversation. But before we even get into all that, I do want to address the game on the screen. This was the demo that came out a while back, or maybe not too far back, but Onimusha, Way of the Sword. I decided to give this a shot. I was wanted to actually jump into this demo a while back whenever it first came out, but just didn't get around to it. But they had the Capcom show that kind of showed this game last, and I was like, okay, maybe I should go and touch that demo. So we're gonna go slightly out of order. I want to speak on the Capcom show, but I actually want to speak on their main event first, which was this game. As just a quick impressions of the demo. Now, I kind of was like, I'm still interested in the game, but I had like not paid as much attention to it for the releases that were coming out this year. So when I didn't remember that it was supposed to be a Souls-like until I started playing. And
I don't think it is though.
Yeah,
I know it has the parry stuff, but I always thought it was just an action adventure game.
Yeah,
it's
action, because that's what I mean. Like, it's supposed to be like it without the difficulty being set to being hard. And it actually, the demo only lets you to play on either easy or normal. But what was so funny about it is the controls for me were so off. Like, it was, I think I had heard somebody else talk about this in their podcast at one point, where they were just like, if your instincts is to press certain buttons, and you'll see my terrible performance as time goes on this game, because your instincts is to like guard with like left trigger or dodge with a certain button, and it's like most of your like buttons that you press is the face buttons to do certain things, but they're like out of order. It's like PS2 quality, like they just made their own buttons basically. And I'm like, usually if you switch weapons, that's like the up button, like or the like triangle or Y, depending on the controller you're in. And so it's, you also, like, you can see me attempting to like try to button mash a little bit, and it's like I'm not actually trying to button mash as much, but it was just kind of coming off that way because I was pressing the wrong stuff. I think this game will be amazing if we swap the buttons around. I think like you can still do that, but I was just playing it as is. I think when I get this game, because I do actually want to play this game in its entirety, I probably will actually switch the buttons around, because if you are playing this with a game that is Souls-like, or you just recently was playing a Souls-like, like at the same time, your instincts are going to be all over the place, because a lot of those games, even God of War, if I remember correctly, kind of followed the formula of what a Souls-like was as far as the button. Like, you would normally want to press like R1s and R2s for heavy attacks and light attacks, and it's like that's not it. It's like top button and right button. R1 and R2, L1 and R2, or L1 and L2 are not blocks in any of that. Like you can't, it's like completely different, and it throws you off so bad. I was getting used to it though. After a while, it can be a flashy game if you dodge correctly. It does a lot of those little flashes that you would have seen in Black Myth Wukong, which is pretty cool. It's just your instincts is to like try to parry, but you like parrying. I'm so used to almost like every game you parry with the left trigger. In this game, you parrying with either the left button, or that's either square or Y or X, depending on whatever controller you have. And so it's like it just throws you so far off. And you can see me pressing buttons and stuff like too much and stuff, like it's like the menus is coming on the screen. Even the menu is a different button. It's literally switch the buttons around. Great experience, to be honest.
See, now I gotta go back to the old Onimusha game and see if the controls are similar, because I played it way back, like on PS2 ish times or whatever, and I wonder if the controls they just kept their controls versus the standard controls. So I would have to go back and look and see.
Back then, controls were like unique to each game. It wasn't a standard thing. Even when you was playing shooters, it was like depending on the game. Oh, you can see right here, I did have a stutter. So like it depends on like, you know, what game you was playing, if they wanted this button to be the shoot button. Because back then, you could have played a first person shooter and shot with the circle button. I remember that. And then in certain games, it would shoot with square. It would just be all over the place.
I'm just wondering, because like if it's not like matching the old way, then it's just a weird choice. But like if it's matching the old way, then I understand what they were doing. They're completely just like, it's our thing.
Yeah.
Not that it's a good idea. It's just that's what they're doing.
Yeah, like when I get to boss fight territory on here, you could see where if I knew the controls, like I would have beat that boss like first try. But because I was making mistakes, it took maybe 5 or 6 tries.
It's the controls' fault. Okay.
Well, no, you go see it. You go literally see it, because the very first time I almost beat him. And then afterwards, it was just like I was losing in the first like round because I was just like messing up with controls. But it was because like I was fighting it in a Souls-like environment without using his like he gets some special abilities and stuff, and I wasn't really using it. And then I accidentally used it in the last round, which took his health like the enemy's health way down. And I didn't even want to use it. I just wanted to sword battle with the dude for a while. Anyways, Onimusha Way of the Sword comes out September 25th, 2026. September is still a very stacked month with a lot of big releases. This is one of them. I do want to give high praise to Capcom for having such a diverse library of titles for this generation that are all big name titles. Like you got to think like Pragmata took a long time and I was kind of annoyed with it, but when it came out, you know, this is certain people's game of the year. I've been hearing a lot of stories of how it touched a lot of fathers of people who have like young kids and stuff too, because it hits that dynamic and everything, and so it moved people a certain way. Then you have like Resident Evil that's just dominating like the industry basically, and a whole bunch of other games that we'll get into. But Onimusha Way of the Sword, I will be getting it. I don't think I will try to get it day one, but I will get it eventually, and along with a few other Capcom releases that I don't have yet. But shout out to them. So anything you wanted to say about this title before we move on?
No, I'm excited to play it. I don't know if I'm going to get it right away, because, you know, like you said, September is stack month, and I've still got other things that I want to play as well that's already been out, but definitely on my list.
Yeah, so the actual Capcom Spotlight, June 2026, this was like a show that was about 45 minutes long, but There was a good little portion of it in the beginning that was like what they would consider a pre-show in a way, where a lot of it was just advertising different products and some sales and stuff online. I think even the Street Fighter movie was being advertised a couple times as well. And then eventually they got into some of their games, and it was still a lot of games that we've seen, for a while, but they were just showing some updates, and then just, you just like really just celebrating their stuff. Because I think they mentioned at one point it was like a 30-year anniversary for some of their things. Like, I guess there's a museum that's going to be showing off 30 years of history for their titles in Tokyo. They mentioned that. They also mentioned there was like a concert that could be coming to a city near you where they're just going to be playing Resident Evil music. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So they're doing a lot of different stuff. They started off too by showing off Monster Hunter Stories 3, more content involving that game. Take it how you would. That's a big franchise in itself. I sometimes forget how big the Monster Hunter series is, how long it is, or how far back it goes.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of different titles in that franchise alone. And then, after all the theatrics and stuff, they showed off Dragon Dogma 2 Dark Horizon, which I think is like a DLC for it. Pretty cool stuff. Was any of these two titles anything that you was interested in before I move forward? Monster Hunter Stories and then Dragon Dog.
I do want to check out potentially the
museum.
Although the orchestra seems cool, but the stories, because I'm into RPGs, but it's still, how much I'm not a fan of Monster Hunter. But I think the stories games are like completely different and way more RPG. And I know they were showing the thing that was focused on the little cat. But then also for Dragon's Dogma, I am interested in that. So it was Dragon's Dogma 2 was on my list of things to get. I just haven't got around to getting it. And then they announced Dark Arisen, so it's like, well, I might as well wait and just get the whole thing as a complete package now. Crazy that they're using the Dark Arisen thing, because that was what they used for the first game as well. It was Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. But yeah, that's like my style of game. Your medieval RPG, make a character, like all that good stuff. So that one I am like super excited for.
Okay, Dragon's Dogma's DLC will be available October 2nd, 2026. It's interesting how bullish Capcom is with their releases, because the Onimusha release and then the Dragon Dogma DLC release is like about a week away from each other, right? And so they're just firing on all cylinders, right? They showed off I guess Devil May Cry 5, not really a new title, but they showed a complete version that they're releasing on the Switch. We did see this, I think, at the Switch, their last direct, not too long ago. But they showed it again here. They mentioned that Street Fighter 6 is in year 4, which I didn't know it was out for that long. Like, time just flies. But it's cool to see how that game, like, I can't really say it's like a live service, maybe, kinda, but they're releasing.
Yeah. They're doing like roadmaps, and each you're just kind of dropping more.
Yeah, they're releasing
DLC, so it's continued support.
Yeah, they're releasing more and more like content for it as they go along. I still remember the Kenny Omega dude, I think his name was Alex in the game, that they did, where he did all the mocap for it. But yeah, they're still releasing so much content here. I think at some point they made mention to the Resident Evil stuff as well. It's kind of interesting how they will have a Resident Evil game that comes out, it's a big deal, and then still get you hyped for the next one that fast. Capcom, because the other major companies I don't think they're really moving as quickly as how Capcom is. I think Capcom is like one of the one third party studios that has a consistent release for more than one franchise where they're on top each time. It's not like one flops, this one may or may not make it. We got to close the studio down here and there. It's like, no, they are just a formula. Especially with Resident Evil. Resident Evil has a consistent formula for a lot of games. The games will come out, it'll do great, and then they'll have a sale for them, and then continue to do sales, and it's almost like it's, they're not hurting for money at all. Like Resident Evil 4's remake was a big deal, and then now it's like on sale for like $15 to $20 like every other month. So
also,
they're firing on all cylinders. Yeah.
Like, for one, it's, they got their established kind of franchises, right? So people are willing to jump in. And like you said, it's kind of a wide variety. So you get, like, you want action, right? You got Onimusha. You want horror. You got Resident Evil. You want, like, monsters or even turn-based stuff. You got the, like, Monster Hunter stuff. Like, they hit a wide variety of things, but then they also are consistent with quality. Like, you don't really hear, like, oh, this game came out and they've got to wait for, like, 5 patches because it's broken, right? Mm-hmm. You don't get that a lot from Capcom. Like, the biggest complaint was, like, one of their Street Fighter games that was, like, barely anything, and then they turned it around. It was one out of all of them that got, like, heavy complaints, right? So, I think that's what's good. And one other thing I wanted to point out, they showed off some of the movie for Street Fighter. I don't know if you caught it. The, like, opening track for it was Ambitious as a Rider by Tupac, but it was remixed to say Ambitions as a Street Fighter.
No, I probably wouldn't.
Like, I heard the beat, and I was like, oh, is that? But then you hear it just like, Ambitions as a Street Fighter. Like, and I was like, wait a minute. But, yeah.
That's silly. And then they, they finished it off with Onimusha, Way of the Sword. So... cool little show. Later than the other shows. Like, I don't know if they really was just trying to separate themselves from that monstrosity of a E3 type lineup or something. But I actually think that was a little bit more smarter, because then you get to just simply focus on what they got and then don't really just be, sidetracked with all these other shows. It is better overall for them to do it that way. Like, we would have a show every couple weeks if they had, spaced that out, and all those games wouldn't just get thrown away, but yeah, I'm glad that they did space it out, because that's a cool little show that's in the middle of everything, and then we can just simply move on to the next topic, which is what I'm going to do right now. But combine two of them in one. So Xbox and Steam machine prices / price hike for one of the platforms. So it's kind of funny, because I saw this coming a while back, and I started to be like, let me just play the audio, but I don't think it's necessary for me to do that. People can believe me or they don't have to believe me, but the date of the audio for the Steam machine's release that I had was like November 2025, right? That I sent you the message and like a couple other people. I was like, my thought process at the time was saying, are we over consuming on hardware? Which, even though I participate in that, I do think that we are still over consuming. But the main thing was, I fully expected this thing, as far as the Steam machine, to be over $1,000. I don't know how anybody expected that thing to be 4 or 5.
So in fairness, from my argument, I remember specifically saying I felt like this thing should be marketed towards people who are afraid to dive into PC but want to do Steam related stuff, almost like an introductory thing. So I felt like the cost had to kind of match the consoles. Then all the consoles went up to $1,000. So that's what I told you. I don't know if I said it on stream or told you. It was like, when they went up, it was like, oh yeah, for sure, the Steam machine is now over like $1,000, because it's still like, before it was like you can't have the Steam machine over $1,000 while the consoles are still hovering around 600. Like, that seems like too wide of a
funny joke to me. That was so funny. It was like, like, oh, this thing is supposed to be competitive with the console. It's like, well, it actually is.
Yep.
It is competitive with the console. It's like this thing is supposed to undercut it. Well, it's like it's not going to undercut it, but I fully expected. The funny thing about it is, so the Steam machine itself, I was kind of annoyed with the content creators only focusing on price and not focusing on what the thing could do at all. And then we finally started to see that like just now. And we also started to realize, well, this thing is actually somewhat underpowered when you're looking at something like 4K. And the thing about that is I had already expected that. I think we had already kind of knew that way back when. I'm like, how is this even a surprise to some people? But basically, it is not consistently at 60 frames when playing certain games at 4K. I think it got to the point where Valve has changed their marketing and actually changed their wording on their website when it comes to the Steam machine from saying it's 4K 60 to it's up to 60, up to 4K, that kind of thing. And they can't advertise it as being locked in as 4K 60 because it's just not. And a lot of new games that came out after that thing was announced, it's not doing 4K at 60 frames. And I already knew that was probably going to be a thing, because when you look at the specs of the machine, it's meant to be a powerhouse for your regular Steam-based games. It was not meant to play the biggest AAA games. And I kind of got annoyed also with the industry who only showed that, because none of them paid attention. If you looked at any of those games or any of those channels, they all picked the AAA titles, and it was kind of a roll your eye moment too, because it was like, it reminded me of the PS5 Pro and stuff, where they only wanted to show a certain AAA game, and it was the same old news. Here's Cyberpunk, here's a Spider-Man. They did show the 007, the newest one, and things like that, and I'm just like, well, that's not, like, if you're coming from console, you have a console that probably plays this already. It's like you didn't focus on games that are like primarily things that you normally see on Steam. A lot of stuff that just don't really hit consoles like that. All those little obscure looking weird games and stuff. All those demos that just keep coming out like every, you know, every TV show, not TV show, but game show that comes out and stuff. They didn't do none of that. And
yeah, what I thought was going to be the case again, where this thing was coming out right when PlayStation was like, we're releasing stuff on PC. So everybody was like, well, sweet, now I can have a machine that plays both. Like, that was kind of, I thought was going to be the thought process. And then Sony was like, yeah, we out. So this thing went up higher than I thought it would be at the time, until all the consoles went out. Sony pulled away from it, and now it goes really, like, heavily back into the just oversaturation of the market.
The Steam machine, according to them, they wanted to target it around 750. But because of the RAM thing, the storage thing, they couldn't necessarily do that. They're in a position where they can't take a loss, I guess. And I can understand that too, from the perspective of Steam versus a console. So it is what it is. It's the price that it is. I honestly think the funny thing about it is literally at the price of what you would normally see a potato pre-built anyway. Like, yep. Any of them pre-builts that's like right around this area is a potato that don't do 4K anyway. If you was to go and look at all of them, a lot of them are really trying to get you to be around 1440p. What really cringed me though about it is some of these bigger games was like, some of them still needed to drop down to like 40 frames, even 30 frames at 1440p on this machine, which made it really just stand out that no matter what, it's going to be another 1080p machine, which is right in line with the potato PCs. But so the base model is the 500 gig model. That's $1,049. You can have that exact same model with the controller. That's $1,128. I think these are literal raw numbers too. I think they because normally you have somebody round it into a nice smooth 199 or whatever it is. Like these are just raw numbers. 2 terabyte model is $1,349, and then the 2 terabyte model with the controller is $1,428. So it's 4 different SKUs for the Steam machine. And so it's no longer 4K at 60 frames. It's up to 4K gaming is their thing that they're saying. I was like highly annoyed with how this is also being handled, because it kind of reminds me of the Rolex market, but they're back to doing their thing where it's like you have to have a Steam library and have made a purchase before, I believe, April 2026 to like prove you're like an account, I guess. And then it's only one per account that can be pre-ordered. I guess not that I would have wanted to pre-order more than one, but the thing that really annoys me is that now you go on what they would consider a waiting list. And with the waiting list, that doesn't mean that you can just get it right away to pre-order. You got to wait for them to tell you you're available to pre-order, and then you got a certain amount of time to do it, I guess. And I'm like, that was kind of the BS, honestly, that they did with the consoles initially. And I'm just like, you're kind of artificially making this like a hot commodity when it honestly would be dead on arrival if you just made it open to the full public. Like, let's really be honest here. But you'll be on a waiting list, and then I think the email that they will send out that says, let me find it because I know I had the screenshot somewhere. When we did the one-time randomization of the list, your place in line ended up beyond the number of units we have in production run. As we work our way through the reservation queue, some customers may cancel their reservations. If that happens, you may be moved into a reservation queue, and you'll be able to get a notification via email that you have a reservation after all. This is the only email that you'll receive about the results of the randomization. If you needed, or if you ended up with a waitlist spot for one or more models, you'll be placed in the waitlist for that model. And from there, we'll close it out after you're done or something like that. So, trash. That's trash. I don't like what?
Yeah, it is.
That don't even make sense to me. I'm sitting over like we still, regardless of whatever you got to say about RAM and all this other stuff, there's still some pre-builts out there. There's still people who keep making these videos of all these random mini PCs and stuff. But this idea of like you got to be on a waiting list, like it irked me so much to hear this ridiculous waiting list thing in the Rolex community, but to bring that over into gaming now, for a computer that's already underpowered compared to its competition. Like technically the PS5 Pro is cheaper and more powerful than this machine for all those games that it was showing. And the hottest game alive right now that's coming out in November is going to be available on both PlayStation and Xbox, and it's not going to be available on Steam this year. And the way this is
Hilarious.
The way this is like being shown off is like, I don't even think it will handle that game. And you're telling
So
me, yeah, I
what
gotta
I'm
wait.
hearing right now is
Yeah.
this thing is pretty much about to be the next generation Switch, where everything comes in extra late. If it does, it's automatically going to be lower quality, and it's coming out weaker than its competition.
Yeah, I mean,
Without
specifically for
having
this
its own
machine.
games that it focuses on, though. So worse Switch, because at least for Switch, it's like, well, if you want to play Pokemon and Fire Emblem, you got one option to go to, but this is like not the same.
But my frustration with it though is when when it was announced, so that was November, right? And then that November was still Black Friday season. So I had bought little things to create a setup specifically for right now, the summertime, to just sit in the house and play that thing in a different room in a different form factor without, you know, powering up this giant computer over here. And it was like a little lazy boy floor chair that was like $40 or $50. um the if you remember, I had the Elite controller. I had a little monitor that's like 1080p at 120 frames or 240 frames, I forgot what it was, and like a little thing to like mount it, and like all my controllers over there and stuff, and then a little soundboard, or a sound bar, and then, you know, all these little things, like little, and they were all not really that expensive. It was because, if you remember, they initially said this was going to come out in March, or at least first quarter, and I was like, the latest of the first quarter of the year is March. And then out of nowhere, we get to March and they got quiet on it. They didn't even want to say nothing about it again, and it was all because of this whole RAM thing. And I was expected to pay that full amount in the beginning. I just wanted to see how it ran first, and then, you know, get my own. But the thing that I wanted to pay attention to was all the games that we see on all these shows that everybody ignores. You know, shout out to Justin Woodward, and then all the, you know, black content creators and all of them who come out with all those little games, and all the other people who come out with those little games on like the Future Game Show and stuff. That's what this machine was for me.
Yeah, but do you think advertisements for it would have went well enough if that was the focus?
I mean, I already knew, like, if it was going to, it would have done that by default. And then, yeah, they can show off a game like the game on the screen. But it's like, you know, by default, I just wanted to, you know, play those little games, because this thing is absolutely going to play 1080p fine. 100, 60 frames or maybe 90 frames at 1080p fine with those type of titles. But if I'm going to sit here and try to play this that ain't even out yet on that machine, then yes, it's going to struggle. Of course it's going to struggle.
I guess in fairness with my comment, I still don't understand the marketing for this. Like, again, I think anyone who follows Steam has a good enough PC, or if they don't, like for me, for example, I play it on upgrading. Like, my PC's fine, but I play it on upgrading. I'm not getting this. I'm getting a better just PC that's even stronger and everything, right? Like, I don't quite get who this is for, since the marketing wasn't made for those who are afraid to dive into PC because of all the pieces that you have to know and settings that you have to change and all that stuff. So it's like a way to move console players to PC. But I don't, like, I didn't even feel like this was going to be its own, like, solid super system. This, to me, again, always felt like it was supposed to be a transition system. And, of course, it's not marketed that way, so it's just I don't quite get the purpose of this thing. Still.
Yeah.
Like, Steam Deck, to me, made sense. It's somebody who wants to play handheld. Some of those games on Steam just look better as a handheld, and they don't want to fill up their laptop with it. This is a way to do handheld. Like, I'm not under, like, if you're going to be stationary for the, like, is it so you can play Steam games but hook it to a TV because you don't want your PC in there? Because then you'd have to use the mouse and keyboard or use a wireless one to do, like, is it just so you can do Steam on big TV. Like, I'm not understanding why this thing
I
coming.
can tell you exactly what it was supposed to be, because I was going to talk on Xbox next, but we'll switch to PlayStation first. But it was supposed to be the PC version of the Xbox Series S in a different room, and it was understood that you already have the Series X, aka a PC, in a different room, and then you had either a Rogue Ally or a Steam Deck is already. It was just supposed to be another machine that was slightly lower power, but it had a cool factor to it, and the enthusiast was going to get it. I don't believe it was ever going to bring in new people. People got hyped about it, but they didn't know what the price was, and then once they started to figure out, we saw this thing die, like its influence die like almost as quickly as it blew up, because people was already coming up with this fantasy price of like $500 or $600. And that was never going to be the case. I don't even know why anybody thought that. Because if you really look at the market at the time, all the handhelds was 1,000. Like, only a few of them was slightly less than that. But the handhelds, all underpowered by the way, was starting off higher than the actual consoles. So I was like, there's no way you're going to bring out a machine and price it lower than the Steam Deck. It was just never going to happen. I don't know why anybody thought that they were going to do that. And then next thing you know, they adjusted for everything else, and I knew they were going to do that too, because you had things like the Rogue Ally coming out at $1,000. The Lenovo was literally already at the $1,400 mark with their Lenovo Legion Go 2, I believe, the one that was like really resembling a Switch device. So people were not paying attention to the climate, I guess, or at least just overlooking some things. And then it is what it is. This device, though, just like the Steam Deck is a secondary device. I think a lot of people who had the Steam Deck already had a rig, probably either a really expensive one or a low quality rig, a potato or something. But the Steam Deck was always going to be a secondary product to the Steam player, because you would have already had a Steam library and you just would have been playing that library on the thing. I think probably less than 30% was brand new PC players, honestly. But yeah, that is what it is as far as this. Any other thought process on the Steam machine?
No.
Well, actually, I do got one more question. Do you think it will fail? Steam machine. You think it's gonna fail? You think it's gonna fail?
I think the only people that are gonna get it are collectionists that want to have kind of like everything. Just to have it, like, the people who have the display, like, I own every system as like an art piece, like, history museum sort of thing. I think it's gonna be that. And I think give it like 3 months after, and no one's really going to be talking about it, about like the main system. Like, no, I don't think anyone's getting it as their main system that they're going to be using. It's just going to be another thing that some people have. I think it's going to fail. I'll be happily proven wrong. Like, that'll be awesome if this thing is somehow extra amazing. It's a thing that needs to be on everybody's radar. People start getting it and they really enjoy it. Like, I always want, like, people, like, if they can find something amazing, like, awesome, be excited for it. But I don't think it's gonna work.
So the question really comes down to the perspective, because Steam considers the Steam Deck a win. However, if you look at it and compare it to where everybody else was as far as sales and stuff, you would probably think that the Steam Deck was a fail, because the Steam Deck was hovering around like 5 million in sales. And it's like, well, if you compare that to like Switch, a lot of people try to compare it to Switch, was like, oh, that's a flop because the Switch did like 100 million.
I don't think that's fair. But I feel like you gotta compare it to Rogue or Lenovo. However, I don't think it's gonna sell as much as the Steam Deck.
Yeah, all of those are around that amount. And yeah, I do think that it will sell less, but I think it will still clear probably 3 or 4 mil. And at the same time, that's probably all that they think that they're going to get anyway.
You know what, though? On top of that, though, if it reaches a point, like, I think it's going to fail in terms of what we would call. fail. And again, keeping it fair, I'm not even going to be like, it didn't sell nearly as much as PlayStation. Like, I don't think that's going to be my comparison. I think my main comparison will be how well it does in compared to the Steam Deck. But if it sells enough for Steam to consider it a success, then I'm not hating on that too much, because it seems like a lot of these studios, and Steam hasn't done it as much, but like a lot of these studios, as soon as there's a failure, they go nuclear. So if it's something that they consider a success, so they don't end up just making a series of bad decisions that punish the gamer solely because they think they got a failure, then awesome. So I don't know what their judge of success will be, but I think in overall, from a good public's eye, it's not going to be successful.
The Lenovo Legion Go, I think, sold the least out of the handhelds and was not as popular. However,
I imagine so. It didn't get as much advertisement.
Yeah, however, it was like the most powerful, right? And they still went ahead and green-lighted multiple versions, including the successor, what they just said is the Lenovo Legion Go 2. So it just comes down to their perspective, because I would consider that a fail for sure. But they don't. They greenlight in an industry where we don't want to greenlight no sequels or anything. They're greenlighting this hardware. The hardware, they somehow got time to make this hardware, even with all this RAM and storage issues and stuff. These things are still coming out somehow. Even for a company like Ambernick, which is hilarious. But yeah, we can move forward. Spider-Man's on the screen, but
I was gonna say real quick with Spider-Man on the screen. So that blue outfit, the white and blue that I have, because I recognize this is my footage because of the costume. That white and blue was my favorite suit for Peter in this game. I don't know why, it just like stuck out to me. The hood design with the I think the colors, with it being inverted and everything, just looked great, especially on the screen and in the cutscenes. And I think so. This was, I think, my favorite mission of the game, actually, because I'm a big Agent Venom fan, and it was a cool, interesting take that they had on it. But this was, probably my favorite mission in the game. Just a little side note.
Before we go into the next topic, any quick thoughts on the rumors of a Venom game coming after the Wolverine game?
It needs to happen. We saw that quick gameplay. That was probably my second favorite mission in this game. So I got spoiler, which would be weird if people haven't played this yet in my head. But
I haven't.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Dang. Well, do you know about the part that I guess I kind of said it, that you play Venom for a quick second?
I mean, you see it. I looked right at it.
True.
I saw it.
But I think that was my favorite. I would love to see a game where you get to, play as Agent Venom and then Venom. It doesn't even, I honestly don't need it to be that big of a scale. I think the size of Miles Morales Spider-Man game is good enough for that, because I feel like they don't need to do more. Like, I feel like that would be good enough for that scale, and it just covers what Harry is doing during this game and everything, like from his perspective and everything. I think that'll be great. Like, starting maybe with this mission, but you start as Harry instead of playing as Peter in this part. And then you get to see, because there's parts in the game, just as a note, where like you'll be fighting, and I thought this was a nice touch, that like occasionally different allies would just be there to help out, just because you're just doing stuff in the streets, and it'll just be like, I'm here, and it'll just like do something to help in the background and fight. And I think playing through as Agent Venom, doing this, like what he's doing in the background, I think would be really cool.
All right, cool. So PlayStation has decided to remove a new set of movies. Well, maybe not new, but some classic movies that you may have bought in the past from your digital library underneath their ecosystem. And they're not giving you a refund, apparently.
No. So I looked into this because remember, this was a big issue before when they lost their contract with Discovery, because Warner Bros. Hates people, and they removed they were removing like Mythbusters and a bunch of other stuff that people paid for. And now Sony is doing that again. I'm trying to pull up the actual studio. It's the Studio Canal, which is like a European thing. I don't know if this affects everybody or just those mainly in Europe. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's only Europe. So films from European PlayStation user libraries. The Studio Canal had owned the rights to like Terminator 2, Total Recall, Rambo, right? So like our studios make those, and then one of the foreign studios buys the rights so it can be played there, and bought through that studio, right? Almost like saying, in a way, it's like things are specifically on Netflix, right? Mm-hmm. So you PlayStation made a deal where you buy it, but then if they lose their contract with Netflix, then you don't get to have it anymore, is what's happening here. So with Studio Canal, people went through that to purchase this stuff. They lose their license with Studio Canal, so then they're like, September 1st, it's gone. No refunds because PlayStation already doesn't let you buy shows anymore. From the store, they have that separate movie thing that they, their own thing. But then there's like just no refund, no nothing. And part of the issue, I'm like, how are they able to do this? And it has to do with that EULA, the EULA agreement that we all kind of skip over when we're just saying accept, accept, accept. And what that thing says is if a licensing agreement fizzles out, then they have the right to take it away. So it's not, that's why people are fighting so hard for physical, which will tie into a later story, but why so many people fight against like everything just being digital media, because digital media is subject to the EULA agreements. So then if for whatever reason there's a licensing thing that you have no control over, you lose it, right? There's no ownership. Pretty much everything you do is a borrowed rental that you paid for, and it's just you have it as long as that license is still there. So I don't think that's really fair. I don't like the idea that people bought this stuff, and there could have been somebody who just bought all of it, right? They bought every movie the studio can now have on there, have all this money set, and then all of a sudden PlayStation's like, you don't own it anymore. And it's like, so you do that, but then get mad at us if we pirate. And things, it's just like, but you stop selling physical media, you make people buy it through digital, and then you take it away. So then they're forced to move to a streaming service, but then the streaming service could just take it away because they're cleaning their library. So there's so many things. There's some things out there that I want to watch right now that's just not on anything. It's just, you can't get it. There's this old show. It was an old show called Boston Public. That came out in like early 2000s, a super drama series about a high school that I remembered seeing bits and pieces of when I was a kid. And I'm like, yo, I actually want to watch this. And I looked and it's nowhere. Like, unless you can find a DVD set of this stuff, it's not on anything. You just don't get to have it. And it's like, that's not cool. Like, that's not fair. And even if you do find a way to get it through the ways they want you to, they can just take it away. But then if you do streaming or if you do pirating and everything, because remember, they're moving physical media from everything. Yeah. If you get pirating stuff, then all of a sudden they're mad again. And it's like, so why do you get to dictate when I get to watch something?
Yeah, I find it crazy how they are able to do that, but that was the first thing I had thought of, was like, it was probably in the terms and conditions. I can't be mad at people if they do the little DVR method or something where they just, make a copy of everything real quick.
Yeah.
I can't really be mad at nobody who does that.
Screen
Literally, yeah. Some of the stuff that, people use to stream and do YouTube videos actually allows you to do that, even though you're not supposed to do that. And you'll do it with perfect quality, no different than how we can just take a copy of this gameplay and it looks like perfect quality. Like, you can still do that. And I wouldn't be mad at you if you did. Now, yes, I am one of the people who grew up, finding stuff on the internet, and there's so many different ways to stream it, even with like Tubi and stuff, that I don't think I ever will buy anything unless I did get it as a DVD copy, because I would want the perfect 4K ultra digital, whatever they be saying on them boxes. Yeah, like, I would want that. I remember they had the horror movies in Walmart at one point. Funny enough, it was after they said they were going to get away or stop using the DVDs and stuff. They had released a whole horror movie set where everything was in a red box, and it was all the different franchises next to each other, and they all had like the same thing. So if you bought them all, you could put them together as this like red collection. And I thought that was dope. It was like all the different horror, like Dead by Daylight, basically, all the different horror stuff. So I would advise everybody, because this isn't the first time that they've done this. Effective immediately. Do not buy any movie or TV show data from these this
definitely from Sony. But always look at that EULA and look to see how something owns the show, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you're going through, let's say, Prime, for example. Because I do have a couple of things that I bought, like the full season thing on Prime because it was on sale. Super cheap, like it cost me $2, and it's a show that I kind of watch yearly. I'm actually rewatching it right now, Mike Tyson's Mysteries. But check the EULA, like if it's Prime that owns it. Right, they bought the license for it. They own it. You could buy it through Prime. Then it might be safer if you really want to do it digital. Still be cautious about this stuff. It's gonna be safer. But if it's you have it through them having a license agreement with some other company, like through that EULA, like for example, if it's you only get to watch this because they partnered with Showtime, be really cautious because if Showtime removes that partnership, you now lose the thing.
Honestly, I just feel like people. I feel like I gotta say this with all the computer and technology that we have now. If you do buy a copy of something, I think it's important for you to use the technology to back it up. I'm just have to go there and say, back it up and put it on an external hard drive and call it a day.
I strongly feel if you're going to punish people for doing it the right way, don't get mad when they do it the wrong way.
Yeah, because you can literally
that's your fault.
Grab that, and then you can put the cover art of the actual movie poster on the actual icon of the movie itself. And so when you look at it on your computer base, you just click on that icon, which is the cover art, and then it would just play the movie. I've done that a billion times before.
I'm gonna be honest, the reason why I bought this, like what I was talking about, the Mike Tyson Mysteries, is I didn't realize the show had ended right away after season 4. I kind of bought them right after season 4, and it was my hope that buying it would help entice the season 5 before it ended, and then rest in peace Norm Macdonald. But that was kind of the main reason, like certain things that I bought. But other than that, no, we do it other ways.
I gotta mention real quick before we move on to the Xbox, topic. This right here is Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and I know people was like they annoyed and didn't like the horror stuff, but I gotta say this particular part was so intense. It was so intense, and you could kind of tell. Like I was caught off guard by that alien thing that was following me, and then there was a whole bunch of zombies. Yeah.
The difference is you're not a Call of Duty player. You're just playing Call of Duty.
I was just playing the game.
Currently, right? And so I think that makes a big difference, right? Like you get to be like, oh, this crazy thing, like, and just get lost in the moment where other people are just like, this throws off the thing that I buy.
Yeah. But that alien thing was just intense. Like... And the thing was like, it'll disappear and then re-teleport like that in front of you. Yikes. And you got to use the grappling hook to try to get away and get some distance, reload, and it's just charging. Then it might disappear and then the zombies come out of nowhere. So that was like a whole thing in itself. I just wanted to mention that. But anyways, next topic, Xbox price hike.
Were we switching to Xbox, or were we going to talk about the other, I guess, thing, the GTA thing? Are we saving that?
Yeah, I got it under control. So
got you. All right,
Xbox, yeah, because I wanted to. Well, this is technically Xbox footage. But yeah, so Xbox almost immediately after their really nice show, where they had a lot of positive news. They had some of the negative news where they were just, closing down some studios, doing the reset thing. We spoke on that before. And then as Steam was announcing their prices of the Steam machine, almost immediately, Xbox announced their price increase, which I believe is their third price increase in the last year. And at this point, it is definitive that if you are a gamer, I've heard this term like where you game on the cheap, quote unquote, game on the cheap. That is probably no longer a thing for you at this point. This particular system or series of systems, no pun intended, I think they all had like $100 jump, basically. And it got to the point where, interesting enough, they did not, I don't think they wanted to be the first system of the generation or something to have $1,000 model. So they just discontinue their most premium model, and I'll get to it. But first, the Series S. At some point, the Series S was supposed to be $300. That started off in the very beginning of the generation. It was supposed to be the system that just flies off the shelf. Everybody buys it. They don't even think twice about it, right? Well, that machine has now jumped. Well, it jumped to $400 at one point. Now it is $499. So I believe this is all starting April 1st, by the way. But the Series S, the base model, the entry model, will be the $500 machine, which is crazy because that was considered the main primary cost of the systems. They had a Series S version that they had introduced at one point that was the 1 terabyte model. That particular one is going to be $599. That is the craziest part to me.
Yeah.
Is that one, because that's considered similar to the Switch, similar to I guess the Steam machine, the lower end model. The lowest end model is $600 now. The regular Xbox Series X, this is the one I have. So at one point it jumped to $649. That one is going to be $800 for the Series X 1 terabyte model. They did come out with the Xbox Series X digital model, which is also 1 terabyte. It was the Series X that was the white Series X. I don't know if a lot of people remember that one. I do see it from time to time inside the stores like Walmart. That one was $600. It's jumping to $750. Which I think was the price of the PS5 Pro when it first launched, probably somewhere around that mark. And the 2 terabyte Galaxy model, that was their premium like special edition model that they barely even really sold. They just decided to just discontinue that. That one was actually at the 800 mark. I would imagine with the looks of this, that one was probably going to jump to the $1,000 mark, and I don't think they wanted to have a model out like that. So they just discontinued it. It was just like, here, it's just gone. And it's 2 terabytes. And what's so annoying about it for me is that's the model that I feel like should have been the base model at the beginning of the generation, just like the PS5 Pro. Because I think the Pro has 2 terabytes as well. Both of those, I felt like the original model should have had that. And I remember being really mad at finding out that the PS5 had like some weird custom model where it was like 600. It was like a really random number, like 600 or 825 gigs or so. It wasn't even a full terabyte. I'm like, bro, like, why is this not a full terabyte? And they had passed the cost off of storage to the consumer at the time, and I remember being really, really upset about that too, because these SSDs that was just like these most weird looking SSDs, you had to take your system and basically perform surgery on it as if it was a PC in itself just to put that SSD into the PS5. and people had videos of them doing it, and it wasn't that bad. It was just the fact that you had to do it to begin with. And I know the Series X had a little memory card thing, and I was a little bit more lenient on that because it was more of a plug and play method. But I don't like overall the industry passing off the costs of RAM and storage to the consumer. It is not our fault that this AI boom is the way it is. The AI
Especially
boom,
if we keep telling them we don't want AI and they keep pushing for it. Like, part of the boom is they keep using it, and then they're like, oh man, we can't stop the AI costs. It's like, well, we're telling you not to use the AI. And they're just like, oh, we don't hear that part.
companies have doubled down on it, and I know like now, like I think we're going to get to the point where almost everybody's job is going to require you to use it probably 30 to 50% of the time. But I don't feel like the cost of it should be that high to the consumer. Because at the same time, there's two things that keep ringing in my head. One is, at some point, you have to reach capacity. It's like there's only so many of these things that they can buy. And then at the same time, if you are somebody who, and somebody gonna say I sound real ignorant by saying this, and I don't care. But if you work in a factory that produces this, do you not go to work every day for 40 hours a week? Is that not a thing? We all go to work 40 hours a week, and you have your lunch break, you have your 2 regular breaks usually. That's usually how it goes. So miss me with this you running out of it thing. Well, what are these people doing every day? Are they not making these? Are we really asking for more than what they can produce in a day or two? It just kind of blows my mind a little bit that people will say, well, we got a little bit of a shortage of this, and I'm like, well, don't people go to work and actually produce this? Because if you can go into the middle of the farm, because this is what I keep hearing, they keep going into all these farms and putting up these AI data centers overnight. So I'm like, as quickly as you could put up these data centers, you can't put up the factory and give people the jobs to make the thing. Like, I refuse to believe that we're just really running out. And it's like, this is plastic and metal, basically. I know you calling it a chip shortage, all that stuff. It's plastic and metal. It's not the same as when you're telling somebody you got a chicken shortage. You remember they was trying to say you had a chicken shortage or the egg shortage or something. That's an actual living thing that spits out eggs, basically. It's a little bit different, I can understand breeding a certain amount of chickens within a certain amount of time. That I can make some sense of. But I just feel like, we use the same metal to put in all these other things, from silverware all the way up to cars. You really can't produce it quick enough to keep up with this, but you can put up a data center. You asking people to have mini data centers in the back of their backyards and stuff like that, and promising them 20 grand, and the cost of their water basically going from regular water to brown water or whatever's going on. All these ridiculous things that I'm seeing. I'm just like, well, like, we can't produce. I don't believe that it's so much, and we're passing off this to the consumer in one category but not in others, because of like everybody want to create like bikini photos, or somebody telling you need to use Copilot to write every little thing that you write at your job or something. It just don't add up to me, honestly. It don't add up. But when it comes to the gamer, the gamer who games on the cheap, quote unquote, you were priced out two hikes ago. This wasn't even. Yep. I don't even remember. I don't think I know any parent that's just willing to just come out with $1,000 to pay for anything like this for their child. Not even a regular computer for school. No. Like, you send a kid off to school, to college, with no computer before you give him $1,000 computer. I don't even remember people doing that, and they need it for college.
Still know people who like, I know somebody who, like, parents fully there and everything, and was like, I gotta buy a new laptop, and was looking at the $200 range, right? Like, I know several people who they send like buying no $1,000 laptop.
I ain't gonna hold you up, dog. And I know this about to be some cruel humor. I noticed the cruel humor gotta come out, bro. Because here's the thing that I already know is gonna happen. Like these companies have no idea how much they have ruined family dynamics. Because here's the thing, dog. There's gonna be some parents out there that's literally gonna wait for their child to do one thing wrong. A child is a child. They're always gonna do something wrong. There's gonna be some parents who's literally just gonna go above and beyond to say, "Oh, you did this. That means you ain't gonna never get a game system from me." Knowing doggone well, the only reason they saying it is because they know they can't afford it. But they just waiting for them to have one behavioral mistake, and they gonna play it off like, "Oh, you just because you couldn't get your grades up or because you did this or that, you're not getting the game system." When they know in the back of their mind they're using that excuse because they don't want to pay for it, bro. And it's the company, and then the kids gonna grow up being resentful. So then there's gonna be multiple years where it's like their birthday and or Mother and Father's Day as they're teenagers going into adults, where they're probably gonna say Happy Mother's Day but not give them a gift. And the reason is because they thought in the back of my head, because you didn't get me the game system before. Like literally, these companies just like created that dynamic for these.
You think families. There's gonna be how many cases? I wonder.
Plenty.
There's gonna be that thing where they're just like, "Yo, I want to get this system," and the parent, you know, when like parents hear what you want, but then get the cheaper version. I wonder how many people might end up like, "We got you to play date. You asked for a game system."
Yeah, I remember listening to I know a parent, or back when the PS5 was $500, like she was considering the $400 model and still saying certain things like, "Nah, he ain't, he ain't been keeping his grades up. He been having behavior issues and stuff. I ain't even gonna do it." And the reason they kept bringing up that amount, and it's like, well, now you done doubled it. You literally doubled it. So it's like, well, they're not getting it. They're literally just not gonna get it. If the parent gonna play it off and be like, "Oh, it's because of X, Y, and Z," well, no, it's actually because of the price. They're and it's gonna draw, some distance between them and a kid who's not going to understand it till they're older, and when they have to like fend for themselves as an adult. Yep. They're not going to understand, so they're going to take their childhood and resent their parent literally because of the cost of stuff. And it's like the gaming industry created that. That's the part, and it's really true. It's like literally you can blame the gaming industry for that. You because a parent can't they can't afford it, but they were priced out a long time ago. I don't even think, like, if I was to go back in time and really sit and think about it, there would never have been a situation where my parents would have bought me an $800 system. I don't think never would have never happened.
Bro, so, do you know how much work I had to put in just to get the like 200 or like whatever for the PS2?
Yeah, it's never like, it would never happen.
PS4 was me buying, PS5 was me buying with my son. There was no way. I was lucky I got the PS3, and that was like basically giving up birthday to have all of it combined for Christmas to get the one thing. Like, are you kidding?
So if you pour shame on you, that's basically what the system just said. They're telling you, get your fourth job, third job. Your kid needs to cut grass the whole summer just to afford the controller, not even the system, just the Steam controller.
And let's be real, not to just like call out people who are like, oh, poor, things like that, but also the cost of living, right? We're not going to dive all into all this stuff, but like basically it just costs more to live. And it costs more to have a family to care for, on top of now this costing so much more. It's like you priced out of anything. Like you just fun costs way too much. Like go back to playing with marbles at this point.
The thing about it too, because of how the gap is so short now between actual utility bills, real bills, and what gaming is, like if you're talking about choosing between being a month or two ahead, it's really just 1 month ahead on bills, or plenty of groceries, or a system and no games, a system and no controller. They're going to pick the groceries and they're going to pick the utilities every single time. I couldn't even justify Yeah.
A gaming system is 5 months of electricity for most houses. Because,
So
electricity has gone up too, but gaming system, 5 months of electricity is the gaming system. And the electricity is going to go up if you get the gaming system. So, yeah, it's insane.
I just find it to be kind of goofy because the people weren't, because they had also mentioned like system sales was down for the platforms for the past like pretty much this year. But I mean, the price hikes are not going to make it any better. And even though an enthusiast or somebody who was really just money hungry for content for their YouTube channel, just because they paid the scalper back in 2020 doesn't mean the masses was going to pay the scalper. Like even if I wanted the Steam machine, I'm not about to go pay the scalper for literally my 5th or 6th computer at this point. It would be kind of silly for me to even do that. But yeah, even like my PlayStation and my Xbox and stuff, like the original ones, I got them for $500. You're literally telling me that that's the price for one instead of two, basically, at this point. That's the price for one. We're also introducing models where you don't even put the controller in the box anymore. That's what we're looking at with the Steam machine, and it's still the system without the controller and the game is $1,000. You literally buy a brick by default. Yes, I know we all have controllers and stuff, and we can read the room, but still, just from the optics of it, looking from the outside looking in, the base model is not even complete anymore. And
they somehow DLC'd the components. They DLC'd the components.
Yeah, so that to me is odd. Very, very odd in itself. I could scratch my head at it all day. I still kind of wanted it just for the regular games. The industry is fake. They don't play nothing. Like you ever notice if you watch any of them, they don't none of them talk about them other shows. It's like, did it even happen? It had like 50 shows. Don't none of y'all talk about any of it? Like nobody talked about any of the other games and stuff. I wanted it for that. Just to really play them and stuff in a different form factor. Honestly, coming home from work and firing up a giant computer is somewhat inconvenient compared to just firing up a small console in another room. It really is. And sometimes I don't want to sit upright in the chair. I just want to like lay back. But yeah, Xbox, the price increases is not 100% their fault. These price increases, I told somebody not too long ago, I fully expect Switch to follow suit. Right now, they're already having their price increase by like $50 this September. I was telling people I expect the other $50 to $100 by March of 2027. So you'll hear that from me here. But I do expect that machine to be at least $600 by default by March. Because they tried to lowball it, but these prices going up right now is a response to the data centers and all of the companies and stuff telling you to literally use Copilot for my company. A lot of people are still doing the chat GPTs and all of that stuff. So it is what it is. It's a part of the climate. So I think all the systems by default, I think the lowest one is probably going to be 500 or 600 when this is all said and done. All the handhelds are already pushing 1,000. All of the main systems that's actually worth it is in the $800 to $1,000 range. I'm fully expecting the next generation to start over 1,000 for every model. And the Switch itself is definitely going to be in the $600 range next year. Like, I definitely believe that. And that's all the models. Now, yes, right now, technically, the Playdate is definitely, still 200, still has the most exclusives. You still can only get the games that they have on the game on their platform only. So, best deal in gaming is the Playdate for all of the parents out there. They could take it to school and put it in their pocket, basically. You can't do that with no other system. No other system. All right. We got about 20 seconds before this footage switches to the footage for my Nintendo game that I actually want to talk about real quick, and then we'll jump into our last main topics. But I did get a game in the mail. I'm gonna put this out of order, but ladies and gentlemen, the StarFox game coming from the Nintendo Switch 2. I did pre-order this whenever they mentioned it, and it came out right away. I actually forgot about it, just like some of their other titles, but I pre-ordered the title, and I didn't really play it. I played through the tutorial, so this footage is kind of short because I want to get back to what I really want to play, but I wanted to just show this for the people anyway. But StarFox, to give context, I actually never played the original N64 version. I know StarFox from Super Smash Brothers, and all the Super Smash Brothers games. I was aware of the GameCube games, but I didn't play those either. I do have it on, I guess I want to say emulation technically, but never actually played it. And I know there was more than one remake of this, but for this, I will say it is a fun experience. It was fun to play it as far as, like just playing in the ship or whatever. I do look forward to actually playing it soon, all the way through, but I really played the tutorial. When the tutorial was over and they just said, hit this button to play the campaign, I was like, you know what, that's enough footage. I don't want to do the campaign right now. I don't want to spoil it. But maneuvering in the ship was cool. It doesn't seem like, well, of course, because it's Nintendo, it's not really hard. It's obviously, relatively easy-ish because of Nintendo, but at the same time, you still got to kind of know how to drive a little bit. Voice acting is fine. Because this is really my first introduction to StarFox as a game outside of Super Smash Brothers. Him looking the way he looks with the fur and stuff, that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, what do you expect if you're talking about a remake from the N64?
So, it's not that it looks a little weird to me, but it was because I heavily preferred some other designs, like from the Super Mario Galaxy movie. His look in there to me looks better, and then his introduction in that movie, they did a whole completely different art style, and it felt like it looked like 90s anime, and it was like that should have been the design of the game. Like when you see it, it just looks so good, and then they were like, here's the game, and you're just like, I didn't need them to look real. Like, I don't know, I feel like keep them on the same cartoon level as Mario at least. Like, I don't need it to look like Mario doesn't look like a real man running around. Like, I don't need that. So I didn't need them to be real, but, as long as the gameplay is fun, I feel like you can get past that part.
I mean, from the gameplay, though, just like how you're looking at it right here, like, you're really looking at him from behind the ship most of the time. And also the tank as well. You only cut to that for a cutscene here and there. So I'm not really too worried about that. I thought that what's his name? Sonic and Sonic and Tails. Tails. That Tails meme of the fox who was just like kind of sitting on the chair or whatever, looking weird. That always was funny to me. I always thought it was funny. So if that's how everybody looks at him, that's kind of tongue in cheek for me. I'm not that hardcore into this, but I can understand because like I'm a big fan of Power Rangers, right? And I felt like their designs in that Power Ranger movie was a little cheap. Like they didn't try. And if people feel that way about this game, I can understand if they are, diehard of this franchise. I don't know how many people are, but for me,
There's a chunk.
because I'm looking at this from the outside in, it's not that big of a deal to me. I didn't see the movies, so if I see the movies later, and I will, and I see the difference, I was like, okay, I understand, but most likely I'll probably finish the game beforehand anyway.
Yeah, I'm just that like if they do an actual series for Star Fox, I really hope that they use that '90s anime design that they did when they just introduced his character. Like it looked so good. Like it took me back for like your Cowboy Bebops and stuff, but like it just looked really good. And then his normal animation design that they showed for the movie was fine. But that anime thing looked fantastic.
Well, my question though for that is based on the Switch's history, as far as performance, and I know we're on Switch 2 now, as far as like the Fox game and stuff. Was the animation good enough or is the Switch considered good enough to handle that animation?
I feel like it's easier to handle the cartoon design. I could be wrong because I don't make the games, but I feel like the cartoon design would have been easier to do versus the realistic design.
Okay.
Now I could be wrong but I just feel like I think part of the issue is a lot of '90s anime. What makes it so good is that it's hand drawn, so it probably would have been more work because everything would have had to been way more hand drawn. With that type of stuff, but I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, so Star Fox is available right now. You can get it as a physical copy or a digital copy. I know Switch had this thing where they were saying digital copies of their games are like $10 less. Honestly, places like Amazon are matching that, so you can get this game physical $10 less on certain platforms, and then use your own discounts from whatever payment method you have, or whatever storefront you have, because that's kind of what I did to knock this down to almost nothing. And enjoy yourself a nice little game like this. Now, if you are not on Switch or Switch 2, I should say, but you do want to play a game like this, right? There is a game that was on both Xbox and PlayStation. I don't think it was a Switch version, but there was an Xbox, PlayStation, and a PC version. It was a game called Chorus. At one point, it was introduced on the Xbox platform in one of their shows, and it was a Game Pass day one release. But I believe I bought the physical version of it for like $15, not like a few years back. I think you can find that at $15 to $20 practically everywhere. But you might have to go online to buy it if you want the physical version. But Chorus is doing the same thing. You play as this woman who's just like flying her ship, doing the things that she needs to do. And it's a little bit more mature, obviously, compared to Star Fox. But you'll be in a ship and you'll be shooting away and doing all the same stuff. So go check that out if you wanted a game like this but didn't want to play or didn't have the platform for the Switch 2, basically. All right. Okay. Last main topic. Actually, let's do the Epic Games thing first. So Epic Games gives away free titles every week. Sometimes it's more than one title every week. Usually it's averaging out as 2 games, but they give out games for free, and you don't need to have an actual account to pay for anything. You can just you need a profile, but you don't need to have your payment method on file. You can claim the games, and then you can finally buy any type of PC, handheld, Steam machine, I guess, or mini machine, or a regular PC, and then just like log in and play everything, right? Last week I didn't really look into this title, but funny enough, I had actually wish list this title on Steam before realizing that Epic was about to give it away, and then I unwish listed and just got it here on Epic. But that was the Void Roth game. Void, or this title was like one of the 2D action adventure type games that I like. And so I had wish listed and I was looking, I was like, oh, that's being given away. So I was like, okay, cool. And it's more of a newer title that people can go check out. That's available right now until July 2nd. That's crazy. We're right about to be in July. And then Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, the complete edition. You can go and create roller coasters and then like be on some roller coasters. I wonder if they have that in VR. I have to check that out if it's in VR. Caution VR roller coasters if you're not used to it. But yeah, it's still fun. From July 2nd to July 9th, one of the games they have that's going to be available is called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Yes, that's actually the title.
I've heard of that. I feel like I heard of that. It might have been one of the like mini games in one of the shows.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. And then River City Girls 2. I've seen a couple streamers play this recently. So go check that out. Probably. Yeah.
I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is a 1995 point and click horror game.
Okay. Shout out to
old school.
Shout out to the past. That actually that makes me or that brings me into like the second part of this that I was going to mention. As far as game sales and stuff, like I don't really have too much sales. I mean, obviously right now all the big stuff went up, right? But I did buy a couple titles that was on Steam that was like like, you know how they send you the notification, a bunch of stuff that's on your wish list is on sale. I grabbed a couple titles that were like mad old. I don't know if you remember me saying there was like a 90s title that I have been looking for years, but don't know if I could ever find it. But it looks very similar to a game called Cosmos Cosmic Adventure.
Yeah.
Which is like a really, really old 90s 2D platformer that was like on old PC computers, and I was like a little kid, and my mom was like in college, and like she would go in one of them libraries and they'll let me get on the computer and then like play that game, right? So they had it on sale for 84 cents, and so I just grabbed it. So now it's a part of my Steam library. There was another game that was called Metagal that kind of looks kind of like what's that game called? The little blue midget that's on Mega Man, him. no disrespect. So Metagal, that was 99 cents.
Wait. Metagal, but you lost Mega Man and you just said the little blue midget?
My bad,
Make sure I catch it? Because I had no idea where you were going with little blue
Listen,
midget. I was like, ooh.
We gonna edit that out. Nobody heard me say that. All right. And then I bought a game called Slain Back from Hell, another 2D slasher.
I remember that one. I don't know why I thought you already had that.
That was $1.29. So 3 games. My total cost was $3.31.
That's wonderful.
So I bought all 3. Maybe you could argue I'm part of the problem, but yes, I do not really look at my Steam wish list until they start sending me random stuff that's like under $5.
You are not part of the problem, because that's the whole point of Steam. Everybody like they wouldn't do Steam sales that many times throughout the year if there was a bad thing. That's the whole point. I feel like everything goes on there knowing full well they're gonna make bank during. You can't call it bad when, again, I just talked about Gravekeeper going, here's our first game for free, and then they made $250,000.
Yeah, and so technically right now they got Steam summer sales. So if you go under the Steam app or Steam website, it'll be all over the front page as a Steam summer sale. So there's multiple things that's on sale. You can go down your list. I did get an email telling me that there was like 24 games that was on my list that was on sale, and so I really just grabbed the dirtiest, cheapest stuff that I saw. I mean, when you're telling me games on my list is under $1, it's like, well, I mean, that's a whole game for under $1, especially after we talk about what we were talking about. Why not? So that's what I did. Anything coming from the Amazon world?
Not yet, other than the stuff that I mentioned, but all the games that were mentioned for the month are all available now, and hopefully next week I'll have a new list of things that'll be coming out.
All right, cool. So let's move forward to unofficial main event. I didn't expect it to be that way. But speaking of sales, this title that we all know, I already said this was going to disrupt the economy in such a way. But Grand Theft Auto 6, the pre-orders on this, I'm trying to wrap my mind around what I'm about to say, because they have already sold estimated up to 50 million units in pre-orders, and has already made over $3 billion apparently on pre-orders alone. And we still got like what, 5 or maybe 3 to 5 months to go, probably 5 months to go. November 19 is when this is coming out. The momentum of this title is just ridiculous, and we all kind of knew that it was going to be that way. And it's interesting because there were a few details that came out about this game that we kind of glossed over a little bit. Some people are upset about some of this stuff, but it's not slowing it down whatsoever. One of the things is it's the base game is $80. Funny enough, like, I haven't really seen any headlines on anybody even having an issue with that. But
like,
I
have a couple things, but nothing crazy. Like, most people are just okay. And I think unfortunately what helps, and I'm upset that it does help it, is we went through so much time of everyone saying the base game was going to be 150 as like a joke, or over 100, over 100, over 100, that when they said 80, I think most people were just like, it's under 100. Like, unfortunately. I feel like if those jokes didn't come out then, maybe more outrage.
But we crucified Nintendo for the same thing. We absolutely crucified Nintendo. No.
I still think it's bad. Don't get that twisted. I think it's bad. I still think it's bad. I still think all of it is way too expensive. It's I don't think other people are saying it as much because they were expecting over 100. So all of those people are just happy that it's not over 100. I still think it costs too much, and I also have another issue that I'm sure we're about to bring up.
Yeah, so the standard version is $79.99. The ultimate version is $99.99. I was fully expecting to have a $100 version, because that was the main thing people were saying really early on. But it was going to start at 100 is what people thought. Funny enough, with this amount being what it is, yes, it didn't slow down momentum, but at the same time, it's being brought to the attention that estimated so far, out of that 50 million plus people buying this, 80% of them are actually buying the $100 version. They're not even buying the $80 version. So, like, quite literally, like GTA, like, that's the and I knew that was going to be the thing. Like, that's the one game where like it don't matter what they say. That's the one title for sure. But yeah, majority of the people are buying the $100 version.
Unfortunately, the hype is just too big. I still, like, I'm like, this is too much, but too many people are just on the super, super hype train for this that I don't think they care, unfortunately.
Nah, what game is selling 50 million on pre-orders? Pre-orders?
Yeah.
What? 50 million? 50? Dog, nobody even clears 10. Like that was the argument I was having about the so-called game of the year. I was like, by default, you need to do at least 5. You need to have some sort of fan base. This thing did 50 right away. We still got months to go, so we're still gonna get way more in pre-orders anyway. 3 billion already. My issue came with the way the deluxe version, the details of the deluxe version, because from my understanding, it's really still the same as the regular version, but they're going to drip feed more weapons and vehicles and stuff throughout the story that in the regular version you just wouldn't get. Like better equipment, better weapons, better skins, shops, and stuff like that. So it kind of sounded like certain things are just closed off to the person who bought the $80 version, which I don't know how far that's going to go. But I do know in GTA 5, there are people who would be riding around in the Bugattis and stuff. And then if you just play in the base game, like you just got the regular cars that's just available. And it's like, well, how do you get the Bugatti? How do you get the Lamborghini? And it's like, well, you probably the people who were buying them shark cards and stuff was the ones who was getting it. But also with the deluxe version, I think it comes with GTA Plus, like 1 month free trial of GTA Plus, which is their own subscription service for their shark cars that they have for the last game. And it will be, people pointed out that it's going to start off being like when you actually activate it, it starts off to reoccur where you'll be paying the monthly subscription unless you go into the settings and change that. So that's like the only other thing that I really had an issue with, which I would, turn it off. I don't, or might not even turn it on if I actually play the game, because I don't care too much about the online as much. I do want to play the online on PC a little bit. I don't necessarily want to try to play it on console, but it also sounds like they have this setup where it's set up in a way where if you do try to mod it, they would know right away and kind of they have the ability to ban you. Versus with GTA 5, I don't think they were ready for all those mods the way they were. The mods is what make it fun and stuff. So it's kind of weird that they're trying to take a stance against it because it actually embraced.
Control it.
Because they can't control it. That's probably what it is.
Can't make money off of it. Some people go, why buy any of the DLC stuff when you could just mod it and get better stuff? And probably. Then I think some places got butthurt when they would do something wrong, or just not great, and then somebody's like, I modded it and made it better. So they just don't like it.
So that's the thing. And then the obvious thing was it also has a physical version that's not a physical version, and I don't know if it's going to be physical for
my issue
base and deluxe, but basically it's going to come with a code very similar to the situations that people complain about right now for some of these Switch games that are like e-cards or whatever they was calling it. So when you get it, you will get a normal case with the outer cover, but it won't actually have a disc. For me, funny enough, I actually was expecting something like this specifically for GTA because I felt like GTA is the only game that's going to get away with certain things, and they kind of are. And I think that their main fan base long term was going to be on PC anyway, because that's kind of where I wanted to play it, so it didn't bother me. And then if you got 50 plus million units that's going to be out there, I honestly feel like the way GTA is going to be, it wouldn't be hard to find or anything, or hard to resell. Well, now you can't really resell it, I guess, but GTA was the game that was going to basically get away with it. I knew they was going to get it. It reminded me of... It
doesn't make it okay.
I mean, but it reminded me of Tears of the Kingdom being a Switch 1 game, but they charged $70 for Switch, and I was like, that was the one game where they knew they was going to get away with it. It was just...
Still didn't make it okay.
I mean, the company just took advantage. It is what it is.
And then everybody gives it, like, the permission because they consider that the thing that's worth it. And then they start to get away with this crap. It's the super logic of the... all the businessy people that I hate behind the scenes where they just go, well, because they'll buy it because they consider this one worth it. Then you do it enough times and then it becomes the norm, right? Like you saying the base model, like standard thing coming in was already at $600. With the way everything else is priced, that's now normal. And it's an upsetting thing that it's normal. And I hate that this game is, they're saying, don't call it physical. Like, just say they're only digital, and then call the digital deluxe is the one that comes with, like, a random case so you have a display thing that you could throw up. But don't call it physical if there's nothing physical in it. That's stupid. Which, on a side note, Insomniac, as soon as that news dropped, was like, Wolverine will have a disc right away. Like, as soon as people started complaining, they're like, Wolverine will have a disc. Because they just figured people were going to ask. I don't know if people were going to ask, but that's weird that has to be a specified thing. Physical should mean a physical thing. Like, you have a physical disc that you put in. And again, when we just talked about this whole licensing stuff, what's going to happen, I don't know, 10 years from now when no one else is really caring, but what's going to happen 10 years from now if they want to release a new version of it? So now, like, you just have to buy the brand new version because, like, how they did with the Grand Theft Auto, like, triple pack, where it was already in the store, but they removed it because it was only digital to force you to get the new thing at full price because you don't get the cheaper one now. And it's like, that's what happens with disc. And also disc forces a whole thing too, where it's like, well, if you want to let someone borrow the game or all this extra stuff, or you lose access to your PS Plus or PlayStation Network account for whatever reason, and you go to make a new one, well, the code's already taken. You don't get to do it anymore. If you're, for whatever reason, done with this game 5 years from now, you don't get to sell it back to the company and then somebody, or like to GameStop or the mom and pop shop, and someone else buys it later. Like, I think about, like, what happens 10 or 11 years from now when someone wants to get the retro thing. There is no retro thing for this ever because it's all digital. And again, it's not coming out to Steam right away, but again, when you lose licensings and the Steam store doesn't sell it anymore 20 years from now, and then the codes are all taken up on the main thing, it's just now the game's just gone forever in like 20 years, 30 years. And as again, most people are like, well, who cares about the 30 years thing? Well, we're talking about 30-year-old games now. It's with the whole game reservation. So not selling a physical disc is just a very dumb decision. And it's like, don't call it physical then. Just sell, we're only selling digitals. And then if you're only doing digital, why can't it come out on Steam as well?
I think for me in the long run, the Steam version was going to be the one to get. That's the only reason why I'm not really tripping too much. I do see the concern, but at the same time, the thought process I have is, at the end of the day, which is kind of a proven fact, emulation is going to win. At the end of the day, is won every generation beforehand. So,
I mean, it's still taking a long time to get PlayStation 3 correct, right? So if you really want to play PS3 stuff, you need the disc. If everything was digital, there goes that, because the PlayStation 3 store shut down. So you don't get to get any of that stuff until emulation works. So you gotta wait. So if we have to wait for PS5, PS6 versions of emulation to work, and you decided not to get the game right away, that's it. Like, it's like you have to be here right away at the beginning, or before they like start increasing it to where video games at base cost $400 for the game itself just to be digital, and you don't get to get it. Like, this is, again, it's an issue with game preservation, and if I'm not going to let it slide with other things, I'm not going to let it slide just because it's GTA.
Well, that's the thing. See, with GTA, everybody let it slide. I don't think
everyone else let it slide. I'm not going to let it slide. I'm not going to sit here and just be like, well, I'll allow it here. Like, no, it's, if I'm going to call it out on other things, I'm going to call it out here too. It's stupid.
The thing about it, though, is like with other other titles, I don't believe anybody else is really going to be able to get away with this like that. You could honestly put only the big five in that category, which is NBA, Madden, Call of Duty, GTA, and honestly, Fortnite was already like that. So, like, the other ones, like, if it's sports, then they're going to do it. I do think they're going to do it. Everybody else, like even a title like 007 is a hot title right now. I don't think 007 gets away with something like that. But 2K and Madden are definitely going to get away with that. I do see those doing it, just because of the magnitude of those titles. But everybody else, I mean, they have a hard time. Like, what was Returnal's spin-off, whatever that game was called? Sorrows did like 300,000 and it was physical. Like, people didn't care. You know, I don't think a lot of people, a lot of games are going to be able to do that, especially if you want a brand new IP. We all want to see brand new IPs, but those IPs are not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to make it. They're going to do less than 1 million and stuff like that, even with a physical disc. But a title like GTA, it breaks the boundaries.
But that doesn't mean a physical disc is not allowed to like exist. It should be physical.
They can have a physical. The thing about it, bro, 50 million people still did it anyway. They didn't.
Yeah, of course, care. That's fine. So many people buy
50
loot boxes. That doesn't make loot boxes okay. A lot of people spend all of their money on the like little 2K roadmap stuff for the games that's going to reset every game in the battle pass stuff. That doesn't make it okay. Yeah, okay, 50 million people are just like, they don't care because they're going to get the game anyways. Like, and that's fine. That doesn't make it okay. Why should we just be like, well, it's
industry? Because you're talking
but
about
why should we?
The system.
The moment you start allowing it, yeah. But the moment you don't call it out, I'm not saying that like now everyone needs to boycott the game because they weren't going to do that. Whatever. But the moment people start speaking up about it being wrong is when they just start getting away with it with everything.
Well, let's call a spade a spade. They've been calling out the Switch 2 this entire time. And they're still doing it. The Switch 2 has these...
but don't go quiet about it. Like, you still call it out.
They call it out and they're still doing it, but it's not on the level of a GTA. They're, like, what is it called? Game key cards? E-card? Whatever it was called. Like, certain titles... some of them are legit where they cannot actually fit on a cartridge. But there are some of them who can well fit on the cartridge. But they have it set up where the game itself still needs a download from the internet, I guess. I mean, even if you had it's a double-edged sword for me because we can go get Cyberpunk, for example. Actually, that's probably one of the best examples. Cyberpunk, if you played the disc, that thing wouldn't even work. Let's really be clear here. You absolutely need the patches that's coming from downloads in order to work that game.
That's a whole other issue.
So many of these titles, yes, you'll have a disc. You put the disc in and immediately it still needs to download from the internet regardless. Because it has what they call day one patches. I remember playing God of War Ragnarok, and that thing had a download every week leading up to the Game Awards. To the point where one of them downloads broke the game and I couldn't even finish one of the missions. But by the time we got to the Game Awards, it was just like, well, like whatever. I had already beat the base game but couldn't beat like one of the extras basically.
So are you saying because games are requiring day one patches, which is also its own issue, we just don't need physical media anymore?
I ain't saying we don't need physical media.
That's what I'm saying is it's wrong to not do the physical. Don't call it physical. If you're not going to release a physical, just call it digital. My issue would be not having a physical, but don't say physical and then sell you an empty case.
They say the case is physical. You get to hold the case.
That's stupid. That is so stupid. That's part of my like.
Can you sell the case on eBay?
So?
Can you sell it on eBay?
No, they call it a collector's edition.
Why do
there's
people...
a difference between collector's items, like a case, to represent the game, and then if you're telling me you're selling me a physical edition, that's a physical edition of the game, not physical items. Then just call it items. Sell them as items separately.
But the main argument people have about the physical is that they want to be able to trade it or sell it back, right?
That's why you call it a physical edition.
But can you do that though? Can you take that and sell it to somebody or trade it to somebody?
You're blankly saying it. That's not fair. You're blankly saying it. It is the game, not the stuff that comes with it.
Can you do it though? Can I take a case of GTA
Then
6?
buy the case. Call it the case. Don't call it a physical edition, because physical edition implies the game is physical, not the case that comes with it.
But the argument, but that's the thing. The people who are arguing for that, they want it's if they want the game and they're going to keep the game and never resell it. What will be the difference? If they never resell it, that they have the disc. But if they resold the case,
and again, because then you can put it on other like systems and everything without having to log into the same specific account. Who knows what happens to the account, but if the account needs to get shut down and you get a whole new account, or you put a different account on things and you get a whole new system and things like that, you decide to go with a whole new name and use all these accounts, you can't put the game back on there because you don't have the disc.
Well, what about all the games that you buy on Steam?
That's a whole different thing. They're not calling them physical. They're not saying buy the physical game on Steam. You understand that it is a digital game with a digital license.
Right.
Don't call this physical if you're not giving me the physical game.
Well, they're not. It's nobody's scamming you though. They told you ahead of time that it's just not gonna have the disc.
But don't change the definition of the word physical, because then every company is gonna do that. Say that. Just say you're buying a digital copy of the game, or you can buy this like digital collector's item edition that gives you a case, or digital collector's item edition deluxe that gives you a case with extra things. Don't start changing the definition of what physical edition means, because then everyone's going to just blindly start calling it physical edition and giving you codes.
Well, I mean, they were like this isn't the first time this has happened though. Like,
and it was bad then too. Don't call it a physical edition if there's a physical edition of the game. Find another word for it.
The God of War Collector's Edition came with a steelbook. It came with the hammer. It came with everything but the disc.
Collector's Edition, not physical game edition.
But it was still like you got a whole bunch of stuff. Like you still got.
But they didn't call it a physical edition. We had complaints about them not having a disc in it. And yeah, there's still a complaint there, but my complaint here is that you're calling it a physical edition and not giving me the physical edition of a game.
But they're literally telling you on the box that it's going to just be a download code. It's not like they're
don't
lying
call
to
it
you.
Physical edition.
They're not saying it's a full physical. They're literally telling you
it's labeled as the physical edition of the game.
But I mean, we don't know that 100% because we let everybody else tell you. But they're literally going, because if we look at the game key cards, they put like a white label at the top says that this is a download and you need the internet or something like that. I feel like it's gonna say the same thing. It's no different than when you buy games like Marvel Avengers. Marvel Avengers, even with a disc, quite literally tells you on there that it is required for you to have internet. It literally tells you on that label that even if you had the disc and you put that disc in, you literally cannot play it until you get the download offline. That's literally, and it's the same thing. I think the same thing happened. We reported on this. Hogwarts Legacy was the same way. You could buy that disc, but if you did not have internet, you would not be able to play it. It would have came immediately. I mean, was that really a physical game? I mean, you couldn't do nothing with it. If you didn't have internet, you still couldn't do nothing with it, though, right? But you could still resell what you had. No different than anybody else reselling a case or reselling artwork.
But using the internet to be able to do something versus you'd have a specific download code that is now tied to one account.
I mean, I can get that. I get the download account, but I mean, at the same time, like,
that's what happens with the difference between disc and code. If once you have a code, it is tied to one account and that's it. Versus just needing the internet to be able to grab something. That's a whole nother issue in itself, that it doesn't come preloaded in the game on the disc. But like, there's too many issues here to try and argue. My argument specifically is don't call it a physical edition if you're selling me an empty case with a code that's only tied to one account. Find another word for it.
I mean, but the rebuttal is that they literally tell you the terms on the case. It's not
telling you the terms is different from my argument. There's a whole other issue with whether they do it or not. It's specifically using the word physical edition. Yeah, don't call it that.
But you get a physical case, man. You
don't get a physical edition. You get a case. Call it something else. What did they didn't say God of War Collector's Edition comes with the physical edition of the Steelbook case. They just told you the things that it has in it, and then we were like, there's no disc. But they never labeled it as physical edition.
We haven't seen the official artwork yet. How do we know they don't call it the physical case edition? Like, we don't actually know yet.
Everything says it was just the GTA physical edition.
Yeah, everybody else is reporting on it, but we don't know what they're going to say on their own case.
Well, then fix that.
On their case, they might actually say, because all the keycard ones on Switch literally says, like, they have it on a white label. It's like really bold, where they say this is the game is not on the cartridge you need to download, which is no different than what Marvel Avengers has said, or Hogwarts Legacy. Any of them that said you need the internet, they say those same things, and I feel like they're going to probably say the same thing. Now, the case itself, if it probably looks like it could have fit a disc in there or whatever, I don't know. But they're going to properly label it. They have to. They're going to put on there, it requires internet, because all the other ones say the same thing. But I just know when people say that, when they go there, the key thing that they're always talking about is usually their ability to resell. And I don't feel like their ability to resell is completely taken away from them when people still like buy cases. They buy steelbooks from eBay.
But it's not the same thing. And so I looked it up, and it is being labeled as digital or code in box.
I mean,
so now my issue is just the whole preservation of game thing.
But
all stupid.
But at the same time, like I said before, a game like Soros that did 300,000 copies, that is a game that you could probably worry about if there was no physical version. Even though it's tied to PlayStation, I do still believe it will be preserved overall. I've yet to see a generation not be preserved. Even when Nintendo tried to take away the 3DS from you, not only was 3DS preserved, we got this whole device, this Thor device that's specifically made to be overpowered enough to handle it in its full, right? And that was the gray area. And literally, high-end PCs can handle PS3, low-end PCs cannot. And then the handhelds cannot. But in the long run, I do think emulation is going to take care of all of that. Those people ain't buying it anyway, so there will be no resale with emulation anyway. But a game like GTA, let's really be serious here. GTA is never going to just go away. That the industry, not even the fan base can't leave it alone. They can't leave the other one alone. That one, you would talk about a riot if that was somehow taken offline. It's impossible. It will be modded beyond modded. It reminds me of Bloodborne. Bloodborne has no PS5 version and is not on PC. Somehow, some way, so many people, because of the want for that game to be at 60 FPS, they have a playable version on PC. This is a game that's not even supposed to be on PC. The studio moved on to Elden Ring. They don't have the license to this. If anybody else tried to recreate it, it would be a subpar version by default. And literally the internet created a version of it on PC, got it running, and it's just running. And I feel like they will do that for any game that has that high of a magnitude. The games that we won't be able to get is something like, for me, looking for Cosmos Adventures or something like that. Like, that's the one that I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm worried about getting. Something I can't find.
Just because the people can do it doesn't mean I'm going to give the company a pass. And just because it's a big game doesn't mean I'm going to give the company a pass. I can understand why they make the moves they make because of the status they have, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to be like, it's okay because of the status that they have.
Yeah, I mean, and I can understand that. For me, I was aiming for the PC version anyway, just because of the magnitude of the old one.
Let's be honest, like, it's sometimes these moves I'm going to complain heavily about it and then be part of the problem and still go and get it, right? Like, that's going to happen while I still call certain things out, because unfortunately certain things are just going to be the way that they are. Honestly, and one extra protest isn't going to stop it. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to just, like, turn around and just be like, oh, it's fine now, because of the game that it is, right? Like, that's just, I'm going to hold on to just, if it's a problem, it's a problem.
Honestly, GTA is in such a league of its own. Like, I honestly believe that if they only did a subscription-based model where you didn't own it at all, you would have still seen the 10+ million pre-orders. It literally,
people are going to jump to do that.
But that game is not like, it's an exception to the rule. Like, we could argue for any other title. You literally can't argue for this one. This one is going to literally disrupt the economy. Like I said, it's already disrupting the economy.
It's going to be an exception to the rule, but it's not going to be an exception to my criticism.
People are going to literally
care about my criticism. It's not going to be an exception to my criticism, right? I've played several Madden games and still called out Madden for reusing old stuff instead of revamping things, right? Like, it's sometimes I'm still going to complain about if I don't agree with the move that they're making, regardless of their status.
Oh, people gonna move back in with mom just to play this title. They're gonna quit their jobs to play this title. I heard somebody tell me he was planning on taking off work literally to play this when this comes out. Like, it's an exception to the rule. I like completely exception. But we're out of time. We've been here for too long, 2 hours plus. The original footage then started over. We'll report back next week with whatever crazy news comes out. For the people out there, like, comment, share, subscribe. I will catch you on the next episode. Thank you so much. Enjoy the summer. Peace.